of my handouts on your tables. There's actually two handouts, and the first one I'm going to talk about is on the top. They're kind of run together, but I have additional copies, separate editions here if anybody doesn't have one. They're an outline of the project that I'm working on in Yakutsk, and also a outline of what, and this is my topic, what global grants are and how they work. So if you need more copies, if you didn't get one, we got it. So my topic today is global grants. And can you see me, Tim? My brother Tim is here. His duty is to video me so that I will be a program on the weekly meeting of the E-Club. Because the E-Club, George and the E-Club are talking to their members, and we'll have a board meeting to decide if they want to be a partner club on my project in Yakutsk. Global grants. You all know that there's three ways to give to the Rotary Foundation, and all of us do every year. There's permanent fund, which lasts forever, and just the proceeds go to projects and whatever. The annual fund, which most of us recognize, is invested by the Rotary Foundation for 3 years, and then comes back in the form of half to Rotary International projects, including global grants, Peace Fellows, and all of those kinds of projects. And the other half comes back to your own district, our District 5010, for the district to distribute in the form of district grants. And by the way, Carl Schroeder, who's on my committee to oversee this project, has been on the district grants committee for way longer than my memory will allow. They tell me that this year's district grants in District 5010 amounted to almost $80,000. These go to projects formulated by the clubs, your club, other clubs. Most of them are local projects, but some can be international projects and are. There's another portion of that money that comes back to our district, which is called DDF, District Designated Funds, that is designated for global grants, Peace Fellows, Peace Scholarship, our worldwide impact from our district. And in recent years, they have changed the formula. Rotary International, the Rotary Foundation, changed the formula for the grant process. You probably, if you've been in Rotary for quite a while, remember the matching grants, the group study exchange, the 3H grants, things of that nature. Those are no longer. Now we have global grants and vocational training teams. They're intended to do the same thing, but the rules are quite a bit more strict, and in an attempt to ensure that these projects will be sustainable, long-lasting, and impactful around the world, which some of the previous grant efforts were not. The global grants are large value grants. Minimum grant is $30,000. That's the foundation's portion, Rotary Foundation's portion, matched by DDF from our district, for instance, $1 to $1, and clubs, 50 cents on the dollar. Those are how global grants are funded. And right now, District 5010, like many districts, including our our spin-off district. I was the last district governor to have Eastern Russia as part of our district. District 2225, we have done almost no global grants because they're difficult to put together. The grant that I'm going to talk to you about and encourage your club to become a partner club of Anchorage International Club, which is our international sponsor club, my club. You can join in with a number of clubs to generate the funds necessary to fund a project, and global grant projects can go up to $200,000 and maybe more. Carl, did they change the limit?
About 200, but if 200, then they want to be more hands-on.
More hands-on. Yeah. Anyway, 200,000, which is nice for a good-sized international project. It allows you to travel to the project, do on-the-ground evaluations, make sure that it's a good project, and in fact send vocational training teams to help implement the project. So there's a lot of things that could be covered under a global grant. And since the district is encouraging this, and in fact our Rotary International president also encourages this by asking those clubs which want to have a presidential citation to have an international project or effort of some sort. And I'm going around to the various clubs and talking to the E-Club right now, and perhaps the Girdwood Club and Eureka, California Club, which I'll talk about later, to be part of this project. One of the handouts that I have here for you is the one called Global Grants. And what are they? Well, this is a great outline, and it's in the handouts. Many of you are probably fairly unfamiliar with global grants because they're kind of new. But kind of the key things are that these are for humanitarian projects, scholarships and things of that nature. But to have one succeed, in other words, for the Rotary Foundation to approve a global grant project, it has to be sustainable, it has to have measurable goals, it has to align with one of the 6 areas of focus. It absolutely has to be in one of those areas of focus. And the project that I'm proposing in Yakutsk is in that area of disease prevention and treatment. But there's maternal and child health and the other areas of focus. The project must respond to real community needs. In other words, an assessment has to be done. This has to be a needed thing. And it has to actively involve Rotarians. We're not going to turn money over to someplace and just walk away from it. There has to be a host club and an international club and lots of Rotarians working on the project, hands-on. And by the way, if you've never gone on an NID to immunize for polio or one of these other international projects, you're missing a big part of your Rotary life. That's when you really become well tuned into what Rotary really does, is to see what happens on the ground in these parts of the world which are not as fortunate as we are in the United States or in Alaska. I mean, it's a different world, and there's lots of needs out there. And so these projects have to be sustainable and measurable, involve Rotarians, and are neat. And this short PowerPoint here comes from Rotary International, the Rotary Foundation. Carl got it for me. It shows just in general how you would formulate a successful project application to the Rotary Foundation. I'll go through this real quick. Somebody run the...
Say hey you.
Yeah, there you go. Hey you. Anyway, I presented this to the Rotary Club of Yakutsk, and to help them understand what their obligations were if they accepted this project, because they are significant. Anyway, this is an outline of what they are, and it's an international partnership, and there's a World Fund match. Your annual giving funds these projects. Go ahead. And these are the areas of focus that you must fall into to have a global grant. And as I said, this project is focused on disease prevention and treatment. But maternal and child health, basic education, literacy, these are all areas of focus. Go ahead. You can do the application online. It's wonderful. I mean, they're really organized. There are no deadlines. Matching grant used to have a deadline of like April 1st, and it was agony to try to make that deadline. These have no deadlines, and in fact, they have no strict duration either. You can take as long as you need to implement and successfully complete the project. I've been working on this project. Now, I'm into my 3rd district governor in 2225, because I first inquired with Evgenia Terekova. Mikhail Botkan came and went, and now we're into Valentin Naidanov. But it takes a long time. So these are things that they speak to about how to make a good, complete application, and it's not easy. But you got to follow the rules, and the rules are strict, and that's why there haven't been too many successful projects. In fact, the last 3 or 4 that have been proposed in Eastern Russia have failed, usually on the area of focus issue. But they're strict about this, and I believe in that. I think that was a good move, because our money, the money that you donate, was not being spent well in some cases. Obviously, a lot of cases it was, but now they want a detailed budget, you know, your assessment, who is on the project team, how the Rotarian involvement is going to be, all of these things. And finally, this is really a key, is how is it sustainable? Will it last for 10 or 20 years, doing the job that you intended it to do? And this is a key element, training opportunity, not only on the ground, but with vocational training teams. And because this is a project that will involve sort of high-tech medical equipment, our vocational training team and theirs that will come here to learn about how to operate the equipment, and then our team to help implement it, will primarily be focused in the medical-related professions and some IT folks, because there's an IT component. There's a memorandum of understanding. Each cooperating organization, the host partner, host club, Rotary Club Yakutsk, the international partner, Rotary Club Anchorage International, and the cooperating organizations and partner clubs. Sign an MOU saying this is what we'll do on this project. And then there's measurement and evaluation. And boy, do I believe in that, and I know you do too, Mike. You can't put on a program and just walk away from it and not measure it and evaluate it and make sure you're on track when you get to the end. And that's the kind of the outline. Let me see, can we go to,
You're on slide 15 of 15.
yeah, can we go to the next?
I don't think we're.
There's several folders. We need to go back to the folders. Yeah, this guy.
Global grant application.
Yeah.
With Coots.
Okay, yeah, the next one down. So I presented this outline to the Rotary Club Yakutsk because their obligation, their responsibility is pretty serious. And the Rotary Club of Yakutsk, one of the first in Eastern Russia, 21-year-old club, very highly motivated, one of the first to have, just kind of roll through this because it's kind of funny. First to have health fairs there. This presentation was translated by Katarina Clark. Katya was the club president. She's the daughter of, what is that?
Technical difficulties
Yeah.
due to mass production.
Anyway, Katya is the daughter of Kapitalina Alexieva, who was one of the founding members of the club, and this last year she got the Rotary International Service Above Self Award, which is pretty darn amazing. Wonderful people. Katya, I sent that presentation you just saw over to her. She translated it, and then in one of the pictures here, real quick, you'll see me doing the presentation in English off my English cheat sheet.
Is that you in the cowboy hat then?
No, that's not me. Anyway, and the presentation up on the screen in Russian. Go ahead and bail, and let's go to the pictures. I'm doing the presentation in English. She's standing next to me, translating it into Russian for her club members, many of whom speak quite good English, so it was kind of double. The interesting thing about tuberculosis is that it's never gone away. It's fairly insidious, and it's still a problem in rural Alaska. And the third member of our steering committee, besides myself and Carl, is Dr. George Stewart from the Girdwood Rotary Club, and he spent his professional career in infectious diseases and oversaw quite a bit of the program here in rural Alaska. He's a very knowledgeable guy. Couldn't have asked for a guy who knew more about the problem. The problem is not gone away, and in fact, the virus has evolved, as they do, and now there's some very drug-resistant strains out there. Tuberculosis is a bad deal, but it is worse in Russia by the tune of about 20 times as many cases in Russia as in the U.S. And in rural and northern remote areas, that number is quite a bit greater. So the problem in Alaska is bad, but it's nothing like it is in Yakutsk.
And part of the difference in Alaska is a lot, and again, I served, this is not making it up, I served as an EMT at Nome. The worst issue there, besides the evolution of the disease, making it harder to treat, is so many folks who have it refuse to go to care or preventative activities, and they just keep perpetuating it and little hotspots in remote rural Alaska. Whereas over here at Yakutsk and some other hotspots in the world, they have no access to treatment or even diagnosis.
And-
let alone treatment.
And that's the problem that we intend to address. The access to diagnosis is crucial because about the first 30 days of infection, when you truly have contracted the disease, you are highly transmissible. And you can get the whole village in one shot if you aren't diagnosed and brought into quarantine and under treatment. So rapid turnaround is extremely important. And the problem, oh, go ahead, Harry.
Yeah, 2 years ago, in the summer of 2013, I led what I call a last grade study exchange to Brazil. And
To where?
To Brazil.
Oh,
And I don't believe the district has had a tech training team yet,
no.
so I assume this is gonna be the first. So my question is, when is that formed? Is it after it's been approved? What year is it gonna go over there? And then, with my DGN hat on, who's gonna pay for it?
Okay, the vocational training team, I'll start with the last one and go back. The vocational training team is part of the grant. Okay? It's part of the project. A vocational training team, as opposed to the old GSE, is a team of folks who are in that profession, the related profession. They can be Rotarians. There's the prescription against Rotarian involvement is gone. And the duration can be up to 2 months. And so it's what is necessary for the project, but it's paid for by the project and it must be in the budget. And my hope is that this project will be approved and ready to be implemented by next summer. And the reason I want to say next summer, you'll be DG, right? DGE, yeah? Michelle will be the district governor. Next summer is that there is a direct flight from Anchorage to Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, which only flies in the months of July and August. But it's only 4.5 hours to PK and then about an hour or so shot over to Yakutsk. When I have gone to Vladivostok, I've taken 40 hours to get there. It's horrible. You go around the wrong way. Anyway, so that's kind of my goal. I'd like to see us do the vocational training team when those flights are alive and well, because it's a direct flight from here to PK. This makes it really nice. Plus, it takes a long time for this to happen. Now, what we did, I fell in with Dr. Kim Bardell from the Eureka, California Rotary Club, and they've done 20+ projects, matching grant projects in Siberia. Have failed to get another one under the global grant process, but they want to be involved. And so Kim came on. He's an expert at grant writing. He put this package together and this description which outlines what the project is, kind of about 4 pages. Yeah. We sent it back to Allison Randall at the Rotary Foundation. She came back with a preliminary approval, so we're on our way. Yeah, this is a partial map of Russia, and it's hard to see from back there, but this is the outline of Yakutsk, of the Sakha Republic. Yakutsk being the capital. There's a road from here to here and over to Magadan and down to the rest of Russia. The Arctic portion, the only access is primarily on the Lena River, which runs to the Arctic Ocean. So this is the area of interest. Okay. Can you get the, well, just roll through some pictures and stuff. This is an outline, and there's plenty of copies of this, of the project. And basically, as I said, Yakutsk is about the same size as Anchorage. Everything in Sakha Republic happens in Yakutsk. And the big hospital research and treatment center for tuberculosis is actually 5 hospitals. Very professional, kind of shoddy buildings. You know, if you've ever been to Russia, the architecture there is pretty sad, but the people are wonderful. They're just great, highly trained, very professional people. I spent 3 days in Yakutsk, stayed at the hotel that's owned by the club president. I spent 0 rubles all the time I was there. Went to the opera, went to the theater, very cultured place. But rural Sakha is like rural Alaska, only a little tougher. The idea of this project, as is outlined here, was originally come up with by Dr. Stewart, the Girdwood Club. The idea is a complete air mobile, because there are no roads, diagnosis unit with X-ray, other diagnostic equipment. I'm not a doctor, so I'll leave it up to him, and its own power. Set out 2 of these in regional centers, and they're analogous to Kotzebue or Bethel. Go out with local air carriers, which are not nearly as good as ours, but still they're there. Oh, this is the Rotary Club. Their exchange kid from Brazil. What a hoot. He had a wonderful time. Spoke good Russian too. And they have an ice cave there. So I'm here with Masha and their exchange kid from Colombia, and you know, it's all permafrost. It's like Alaska. It's the same place, but that was kind of cool. Anyway, these units would go to like Bethel and Kotzebue. They would be flown to the villages. The clinicians would go along. They would screen everybody in the village. Move to the next one, move to the next one, move to the next one. This is pretty much state of the art. And George Stewart, obviously an expert dealing with this situation in Alaska, recommended it. They didn't understand it to begin with, but they picked up on it right away and said, okay, we'll do a trial with 2 of them. They probably need a few more, but 2 fits in with the grant. And so the club president, Masha, we're hamming it up at the district conference in St. Petersburg. And you can see she fit in just fine in Kotzebue. And a new member. That's always a great thing to pin a new member. Anyway, that's the outline of the project. The time frame, as I mentioned in response to Harry's question, probably next summer. Seems like a reasonable time to get it approved. Financing all together, scheduled, the equipment procured. We'd like to get their training team over here and ANMC or a similar facility here in Anchorage. Our training team would go back with them to do the implementation, set it up, run through a couple of trials and those kinds of things. So that's in general where we're at. Funding is primarily, of course, the matching portion from the Rotary Foundation, DDF from District 5010, participating clubs, my club, perhaps yours, perhaps the E-Club, Girdwood, for sure the Rotary Club of Eureka, California, and other clubs. And there was also a cute little trick that the Rotary Foundation has, which is called a term gift. Anyone can give a gift to the foundation of $30,000, and it will go directly to a project. And so I'm doing that. So are there any questions on this project at this time?
And could you stay after